Welcome to Burned and Better. I'm your host, Dr. Denisa Weber, a seven-figure CEO, speaker, mother, entrepreneur, and chiropractor. Over the last 15 years, I've faced the highest highs and the lowest lows of entrepreneurship, motherhood, and leadership. I've burned more times than I can count, but every time I've found a way through and come out better. This isn't about polished highlight reels. It's about the real, unfiltered side of leading, the kind of conversations usually kept behind closed doors. Here, I share my own stories and sit down with leaders who've stumbled, recalibrated, and built something worth leading. So if you've ever felt the weight of success or wonder what it looks like to fall hard but rise stronger, you're in the right place. Let's normalize the messy middle of leadership and step into the episode. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Burned and Better. I am right off the heels of an Expanders Retreat with the wealthy practitioner, Dr. Stephanie Wigner and her team at TWP. They just curated an amazing weekend out in Scottsdale, and it was just next level. So kudos to her and her team. They always raise the bar. It was so fun, and I just knew that this was on my calendar, and I knew that this was there, and I was just so looking forward to it because, all the hustle and bustle of, yes, I know you hear about it all the time, but it's truly a thing. I feel the momentum of the holidays. It's like we're going right into a busy season, and it was a nice little woo-saw moment for my nervous system to reset, rest, relax, having fun. We stayed up late a lot, sitting around the fire, talking with each other, and just is refreshing for the soul and spirit and for my body. We had a nice little spa time and love that place. TPC, we were out at TPC, Scottsdale, and Tristan got to be with me. That was my favorite thing, is that this was like a couples retreat. And I always love when me and Tristan can be together, especially when we get to learn together. Because all of these things, I'll go to a conference and I come back and he's like, what was your biggest takeaway? What did you learn? What did you know? All these things. And, I try to share the stuff that that hit home for me. But some of that stuff, it doesn't hit him, though. He'll pick up something else, so him being in the room with me, you can't explain it. It's you got to be in the room, and it's there's a frequency that's there. And, things that will hit for him didn't hit for me. And so it was interesting hearing some of his biggest takeaways and then my biggest takeaways. But we both were sharing, comparing notes, going through just what we want to do together moving forward. And it was just nice to expand together. The weather was beautiful. It was just it was nice, sunshine and being at the pool, and he got to golf. It was so great. And they were setting up the stands for the Waste Management Open. I think that's what it's called, at TPC Scottsdale. And so it's a thing. They're taking months to set up those stands. And I was just it was a sight for sure. But I was just so needed. I just loved the leisure and the space that was curated for us to just have, equal parts, learning, but then also leisure. And it was just enough, and I love that. But what I really love is about being in those rooms where everyone's creating something. It's not this lack mentality of or a scarcity mentality of if you're doing this, I can't do that. It's everyone's pursuing their projects. And it's fun listening to other people working out their stuff and then what other people's ideas of what you should be doing, or, getting that feedback. And it was really nice because then Steph brought some of her inner circle in, and they were sharing, having them share their stories. They opened 6 businesses and 2 of them failed and 4 succeeded. And it's usually the stories that are the biggest takeaways. It's you get to hear what they went through, what, how they came out in the process. Just again, hearing people go through their own things helps you see yourself through it all too. And seeing somebody do something makes me, at least, when I'll speak for myself, it shows what's possible. And so I love possibility thinking. I love seeing what people have worked out, love hearing all the records people have broken. I love to hear biggest failure stories to the biggest wins. It's just permission to explore, permission to walk out, what you're trying to create, and knowing that the road ahead is going to be all kinds of different loops and trip ups and successes. And there's never a story that doesn't have kind of like a rough edge and also like mixed with a big win, and that's always, nice permission slip for me to just be like, just walk it out. Like it doesn't matter. And then also for me, it lifts the ceiling, and also helps me to cut out some of this linear growth mentality of like incremental growth and projections for the next year and goal setting for the next year and 20% growth. It's like, I don't know where I've adopted that. It's just like the safety of linear thinking. And then I'm like, when I think about God, because honestly, I always go back to faith, but God's a multiplier. Like God multiplies things. And quantum leaping and growth or big leaps or whatever, it's like you're stepping into something that's going to ask for you to be bigger. And it's like, what's going to multiply this? How is this going to grow? And so it helps me. Like sometimes I just get so stuck in the safety net of projections being very linear and going, why not something bigger? Anyway, I love being in expansive rooms. I love being investing into places that help me, hear stories and also like expand my mind to go, this could be written differently. Like I've been putting myself in more of like these situations and investing in places where I'm like, maybe I wouldn't be as comfortable going to. I usually have been like more of like a bigger fish in a small pond. And like now I'm like, so over that. Like I'm so over that. I don't want to go where it's comfortable. I want to go where I'm uncomfortable because it's like, what can I learn in the uncomfortableness? Like, what can I learn about myself too? Like, what limiting thoughts and beliefs keep popping up? And I go into different spaces, and it's just a really good experiment to do on yourself. But like, went to Main Street or Wall Street with Cody Sanchez 2 weeks ago in Austin, and that was amazing. I wanted to soak in every single second, like hearing from these people. And I'll do another debrief episode on this, but it was phenomenal. And then I've recently invested. I'm actually going to Ed Milet's house in 2 weeks in Florida and spending 6 hours with him. And I invested quite a bit to be in that room. And I may be the smallest fish there. And that is okay because I'm definitely going to learn some stuff. So I'm like half terrified and half like super giddy and excited, probably all together. Like even Stephen was talking a little bit about the container of what you put yourself into and more stepping into a season where it's like sometimes you're stepping into a new container and you're like, because I know I'm going to fit it. Like I know I'm going to fit that container. And so I always like, envision a plant being potted and it's like, it's only grown so much because it can only grow so much inside of a small container. So it looks like it's thriving. But what if we put it in a bigger pot? Will it start occupying more space? Will it start growing more branches? Will it start growing more vines? Like that visual helps me working through that. I'm like, yeah, every single time I've looked back in my growth, I'm like, I've stepped into a place where, like it might not feel comfortable, but I've always I've managed to fit the container that I've moved to. And she reminded me of that. Like there was conversations that reminded me of that. And it was so good having that conversation because me and Tristan mulled over that and discussed it. And I'm going to go into another episode about like something like kind of like preaching spiritual on that whole situation. But like we were just like, yeah, like sometimes we wait to like things to be just right to have the bigger container when really it's like sometimes you just take a risk on the big container and you step into it and you occupy it. And sometimes I just needed to hear that. And I will say the other people have some takeaways and you need to listen to their podcast because I know that they're doing recaps of this. But my second big takeaway was there's two things that usually kill people's dreams, two killers that can be named that kill you embarking or seeing something through or walking it out. And that is one, it's waiting for evidence before we act. So waiting for that evidence. And two, it's waiting for permission from other people. Those two things can kill just about anything. Waiting for evidence and waiting for permission before we act. Instead of just acting, it's like give yourself permission and go act it out. And just in acting as if it's going to happen. I mean, that's a faith element, right? And those are my biggest two takeaways, like the container and the two killers. There were so many other things from that weekend that those are my two that kind of stayed with me. I also did a NET session, which if you don't know what NET is, because I didn't, I mean, I know about it inside my profession, but I've never had my own session. And it's called Neuro Emotional Technique. And I did it with Dr. Megan Longyear. She's fantastic. She is like the soul, the heart of this lady. And she literally has an anatomical heart tattooed on her forearm. So funny, but it's truly who she is. She walked me through it, and it was like, because she heard me speaking, and she was like, I heard some limiting beliefs in that. And I was like, did you? She's like, how long do you want to carry that along with you? I was like, I don't want to carry any of them. Like, when can we clear this? So the next night after dinner, she was like, let's just go over here. And she had her own side hustle going on over there, like not in a true side hustle, but like every single person wanted to have her work on them, because who doesn't want to work past a limiting belief, right? Like, why? It's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Why do I have self-sabotage here? Why do I keep, going back to these like thought patterns that are limiting me from reaching my potential? Like, what is going on here? And it goes back to things that have happened in our past. I know this sounds kind of obvious, but I mean, when she was muscle testing me, she was like, what happened when you were 8? And I was like, what? Like, and immediately it came to my head. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I immediately thought of Pearson. I was like, I was the same age as Pearson. He's working through something that right now that I was impacted by. And I didn't realize that that was still being carried inside my body. And I was like, what? Like, this limiting belief is tied to that? Like, it went back to 8. It went back to 5. It went back to, I can't remember what was the other age. But I was like, oh man, like this is insane. And I felt lighter the next day. I'll say that. Like, I feel like I could dream a little bit easier. It was really interesting. But she had like every single person was like, I mean, there was not enough time for her to work through every single person that was there. Now I want my husband to do it. But I'm like, that was something that was unexpected that ended up being such a gift on our trip. But it's just so interesting. And too, like even Ed Milet right now, with those of us that are going to his like house, we're receiving homework from him. And one of the pieces of homework is he was like, I need you to write down your most frequented thought. Like, what thought processes, like what sentences and what thoughts are the most frequented highways in your day. And so I've just had to be so hyper aware of what is going on in my brain. Like, what are the things that I'm saying to myself? And sometimes, like, when I hear my husband's like, man, can you just be nice to yourself for a little bit? And I'm like, am I not? And he's like, you didn't get yourself? No, what did I do? Or I'm like, that I'm so used to that. And he's like, yeah, that's not a nice thought. Like, you need to stop that. That doesn't, stop talking to my wife like that. That's what Tristan says, is stop talking to my wife like that. And I'm like, hey, that's me. And he's right. And so like Ed has us walking through this because so many of our thought patterns, like obviously those are frequented highways within even our neurology. We have now fired it so much that it's easier to think that every single time. And it's harder to interrupt it with something else that contradicts it. So the awareness piece is a huge piece of homework that I'm having to walk through, write out all of it. So I'm excited. I'll be able to come back here and share about my weekend with Ed because I'm going to have a download from there. So, but anyway, it was just amazing to walk through this curated weekend. And from there, it was also interesting just having the conversations with a lot of these expanders. And they're like, Denisa, like, if you just put this out here, people will just grab it. Like, this is what I see in you. And I'm like, so interesting. And so, like, immediately off the heels of this weekend, I presented an offer on my Insta stories, and it's out there still. Like, I'm still going through discovery calls, but I just was like, okay, let's do this. A 3-month container, and it's 12 like one-on-one video sessions with me, walking people through their leadership and either building the infrastructure, having the hard conversations, how to assert yourself better, maybe how to soften yourself as you are with your team. But even I'm having other people come to me and just like, they absorbed a practice. They've absorbed a business that now they're going, I went from being the coworker to now being the lead, like I now own. And that's a different relationship dynamic amongst the team. Like, there's so many different nuances. And so I have 4 spaces And I've already picked one that I'm working with. And it's just finding out which is the right fit, because I'm energetically being selective about who I spend 3 months with as well. And it's a high ticket offer. So I'm excited. So if you're interested in this at all, please make sure you reach out to me on Instagram, southern_Cairo, or you can also email us at hello@drjanisaweber.com, and Alyssa will set up a time for a discovery call, and we can kind of like go work through. I have a little bit of a questionnaire, but just like knowing a little bit more about where you're at and if there's a way that I can help you. So if you're interested in that, hop on there, reach out. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week for another episode. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Burn It Better. Follow the show so you never miss an episode. And if you're feeling generous, tap 5 stars or write us a quick review. That's how this work is going to grow. I'd love to hear what stood out for you in this conversation. Share this episode, tag me at southern_Cairo on Instagram, and pass it on to someone who needs it today.